is up, everybody? Welcome to Beyond the Breakdown with Six Scars. I am JT, and I am joined tonight by the illustrious and sometimes, elusive Chris Dredge of Spawn of Psychosis. Chris, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, buddy. You good?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Things are a little chilly over here, but we'll make it through.
It's chilly over here in the UK, so
it sucks. It just sucks everywhere, I swear. So, me and you are just we're gonna dive headfirst into this, man. So I wanted to tell the listeners a little bit about our history, because we actually have gotten to know each other over the last couple years,
2
years. Yeah, 2 years. So for those that don't know, Chris actually did the artwork for Save Me. However, he also sent me this wonderful piece of art for it that I still hold in such high regard. Oh, it's not going to show. There we go. Right there. I absolutely love this thing. I want to get it framed. I want everything with it, honestly. But me and him met through, I believe, the Don't Kill the Vibe group that was still going on back then.
It was, yeah. It was, yeah.
And man, that was a while.
Yeah, that was crazy times.
It was.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember how I ended up in that group, but
I can't either, to be honest, man. That was an interesting group, though.
Yeah, I mean, it also ended very
abruptly and under very weird circumstances.
That's the kind of thing that we don't really know the ins and outs of. But yeah, because I posted about doing artwork for bands, musicians.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been, it was before. It must have been just before Christmas, 2021, 2022.
Yeah, it was early November.
Yeah, because I was just like, I need to get back into kind of doing art as a side hustle at the time, and posted. You were one of, I think I had 5 people, one of which was you, obviously, like, come forward. And when it was all said and done, really only you and one other person kind of like I did stuff for, and it actually,
got used,
well received and used. Some of the other people that got in contact, I did artwork for them, and then they just like disappeared. So it's like I don't even know if they got used or anything, but and I mean, the track saved me instantly. I was just, because that was. Yeah, that would have been, I think, the first track I ever heard from you as well, I think, at that point. And it just, because back in the day, I was a big Korn fan back in the day. So, and I was just like, this guy's, he's literally the embodiment of Jonathan Davis. No,
I wouldn't say all that. I'm nowhere near the skill level that man possesses to
So the track was obviously just instantly got me, and it's always good as when you do sort of artwork for people, when they're either their image of what they want you to do or their idea of what they want you to do is quite well thought out, or when they give you, if it's, as was the case, it was based off of a track and what the track was about. That track had so many things in it that were, as a visual artist as well, very easy to kind of take things from and stuff, and and I think you kind of gave me free reign of interpreting it.
Yeah,
and there we go. That's how I interpreted it. So,
see, to me, man, I think that's some of the best ways to get the most creativity out of somebody, is just tell them to like throw themselves against the wall at it and see what they come up with. And if you don't like it, then you can go back and redo it. But
yeah, I've had some people in more recent times kind of. I'm like, cool, what's your idea? And they tell me the idea, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'm like, okay, so you're doing it like this. What are my reference points? And what they give me as reference then is completely actually different to what they actually want. And in those situations, you're like, you just need to tell me, or they tell you, and you do it literally to the letter. And then like, no, not like that. And you're just like, so. But it's part and parcel of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, some people are a lot more strict when it comes to their creation and what they want on it. So I get both sides of that. But so, speaking of music, man, a lot of us don't remember the exact time music was introduced to us, but what is your earliest memory of you wanting to do it?
Well, my earliest memory of myself. Okay, well, I guess weirdly, or not weirdly, really, the first CD I ever bought as a kid, at 7 or 8 years old, would have been the soundtrack to the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. So that was like that was my first purchase of music.
Yes.
And it just went downhill from there, some people would say. But the first kind of performance, I guess, I would have seen that from memory that caught my imagination would have been Meatloaf. It would have been I would do anything.
I would do anything for love.
But I
won't do that.
Brain just completely frozen. Yeah, and I was I would have been 8 or 9 or 10 or something like that. I don't know. And it was just that fact of, and I've heard lots of people say the same thing with this, is that you were seeing someone who was in terms of what the mainstream would say, a pop star.
Yeah.
But he's not what you'd expect. He was, for someone like me, he was an average person. He was just himself. It wasn't all, and then it's all rock and roll and I mean, in that video, as well, the kind of whole Beauty and the Beast thing in there. It was just all kind of, for my young, impressionable mind, was that was probably the first thing that I kind of saw that started my interest in it. And then as a kid, I grew up around hearing like rock, heavy rock, just in the background kind of thing. But it wasn't until I was probably 15, 16, that I kind of discovered things for myself. And it was literally just at that time, the parents got Sky Digital in, and I'm like, oh, MTV2, what's that? And that was it. Then of course over here anyway in the UK we had the Kerrang, which I think still is a TV channel, and we had a thing called Scuzz, which was better than Kerrang TV because it would play lots of stuff.
Okay.
So it's kind of Scuzz TV and MTV2 was sort of my gateway to that would have been the era of like new metal kind of. I probably was coming in near the end of the new metal thing, but like, so Korn, Limp Bizkit, and then other things, Soil, and then also for me though, kind of going backwards, because I was then obviously learning about bands that I'd grown up with in the background, but never knew who they were.
Yeah.
So like that's how I ended up being a massive Metallica fan, because I was like, oh, this is and then that was it. Then it just kind of snowballed, and so there we go. That's kind of how it sort of started.
I mean, absolutely. And like you saying Meatloaf threw me for a loop, because I would have never assumed that would have been the first thing you heard, man.
It probably wasn't like the first thing I heard, but it was the first thing that
registered.
Registered. It was the whole package. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then discovering that he did a song called "Bat Out of Hell," and then that was it. Do you know what I mean? And then, and I actually managed once, long time ago now, to actually see him live as well once. So at a place called Leeds Castle that's near in here, because I live in Kent, so that's the southeast of England for anyone who cares. So we've got a place called Leeds Castle. They do concerts there sometimes, like outdoor concerts. And Meatloaf played there. So I got to see him. So that was pretty cool.
Man, that was probably pretty sick.
It was, except it was an outside gig in November.
Freezing your balls off.
And it's literally, when I say it is literally a castle, an actual castle, and the ground, has these massive grounds, and they do outside concerts and stuff. And it was literally like, the lorries that are a stage. Do you know what I mean? Like the side down. So it's just one of them that they were on, and it was pissing down rain. It's freezing cold, and we're all just standing out there, just in the grounds of this castle. Some people brought little, camping chairs and stuff, and you're just standing there like freezing with an umbrella, like wait for meatloaf. So it was an interesting experience. So but at least I got to see him,
Right. I mean, that's a once in a lifetime thing right there too. Will, what's up, man? He's saying, did not know Chris had an accent.
I have an accent. I don't know if I have an accent. I just I don't know. Okay, I have an accent.
It makes his music that much cooler having that badass accent. It really does. It really does.
I really have an accent, really? I don't know.
Okay, look, like we're American swine. I mean,
I didn't want to mention that. But, I can't remember who it was. I just remember something years ago. I saw some interview with a comedian from, way before I was even born. I can't remember who it was, and I think it was on a show. We used to have a show over here called Parkinson. Yeah. Famous interviewer. He recently died, I think, or a bit while ago. I can't remember. So it's from the 70s, and it's some comedian, some actor. They say they're talking about Britain and America, and he says, well, the Americans are what is it? Something like, they're our cousins. You like them from afar, but you'd only have them round for Christmas or something like that.
The customs are way different over here, as in there are hardly any. So
it's the way you do dates. I don't understand how you ended up with that system. I don't know why. I don't know why you dropped the U out of the word color. I don't know what that's about.
So it's color?
Yeah. And it's aluminium. Okay?
No, it's aluminum.
No, it's really not. It's aluminium. It always will be.
I knew this was gonna happen, man.
You can tell these are things that have been bugging me for many years of watching
American this is the whole reason I'm on this damn podcast. I'm getting
I need to tell you all, you're saying it wrong. It's all good fun, guys. But you crazy kids.
Will says, you like us from afar. If you touch an American, you'll find yourself in assless chaps chasing deer in the woods. He may be wrong. He may be right. I'm not going to say. All right. So, I knew this was going to happen.
And then there's Thanksgiving. That is a whole other thing. But, that's a very American thing.
Well, I was going to say, do you all celebrate that?
No, it's just you guys. You're the only people ever in the world. That's your legitimate holiday you've created.
Imagine that, us creating something that nobody else wants to celebrate.
We won't get into the historicalness.
No. I'm not trying to get canceled right off the bat here.
Over here, the way American shows portray your Thanksgiving to us, it's basically you get 2 Christmases. That's how it's portrayed to us. Because you do the whole you have the turkey and the thing and all that stuff. So you get 2 Christmases.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Will just said we like food.
As do we. And tea.
Yeah. Let's see here. I reckon that's tea in that GNR cup.
Very much is.
So that's a whole other thing that I need to talk to you about one day, because you and Ames from the Nix's podcast, you guys are obsessed with tea.
Well, but you guys are obsessed with coffee.
We are.
But obviously we have coffee. But in the past 20 odd years, whatever, there's now loads of Starbucks and Costas over here, and and Subways. We have Subways now. That was a whole thing the Brits didn't quite get their head round. It's a shop that sells sandwiches, which we've always had, but these are supposedly special sandwiches. So that was a whole thing.
Very fair.
In fact, years ago when I was at art college, there was only Subways in London. I don't think at that point they were anywhere else here. And when I was at art college, we had a guy who'd lived in London and he'd moved down here to just do art college. And like on the first day of getting to know him, he's like, "You got a Subway here?" And I was like, No, we don't have any Subway trains here. We don't have tube trains. No, Subway. I was like, "Yeah, Subway's." Like, no, the sandwiches. And I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" It's just what? And then now we have two. So down here, so in my town, so.
Oh, Will making a confession over here. He's only listened to 2 SOP songs so far. Well, the good thing is there's no bad ones. So, like, there's that.
Some people would disagree with that, but there's plenty to listen to now.
Well, so, I was going to say, this is my podcast, and I'm saying that there's no bad ones. So, speaking of music, man, I went back and listened to your first 3 albums today. And, dude, they're so wildly different, yet the same at the same time. Like, your voice definitely has that growth. And I was listening to, it used to be my favorite album by you, Ministry of Transition. But I went back and re-listened to Freak Show Pandemic. And I believe it was the song, what was it? Club Antichrist?
Yes.
Dude, the vocals on that song are amazing. And it stuck with me all day when I was listening to it, along with Friends Like These.
Yeah.
So like what really resonated with me, man, was the quality of those albums. Like you'll hear a lot of bands that do that same kind of vibe, but like the quality, the audio quality and the lyrical quality of those albums really blew me away, man. I know as a creator of the music yourself, it's really hard to choose, but like if you had to say what was one of your favorite albums to put out, what do you think would be it?
That's a real there's no short answer to this, by the way. So buckle in. It's hard to say because I'm trying to turn this into a very long story into a short story. I mean, it's funny you say about quality because as a band, I mean, if for the viewers and listeners who don't know, currently me, Spawn Psychosis, is just me. Mm-hmm. It started that way. It grew into a live band. And then, as the years went by, everyone had life changes and, and then I decided in 2021, 22-ish to kind of like get back out there, which is why, as you know, like the tracks I put out in 22 and 2023. And when we first started, so the first album were as there were more people than just me. There was band members. Was Children of Pandora, and I've always felt we were always a bit unlucky when it came to our album productions because it sounded great, and then later down the line after it's released, you're like, various things happened with stuff like Freak Show Pandemic. In fact, that went through a whole nightmare moment after we recorded it and we mixed and mastered it at the studio. We all came back from the studio, took a couple of days, chill out, and our producer Graham, who mm-hmm. He was like, I don't know what's happened, guys. I'm listening back to his masters and something's happened. Like it hasn't done what it should have done. So we had something that happened where we to this day don't know, some digital thing that should, I guess, on the board that should have been on wasn't. I don't know. It was very strange. So then we had this kind of like reverse engineering of it to try and make it sound like what we'd last heard in the studio. And a lot of people over the years had really kind of didn't like us, didn't like our sound. And really every album there was, there are recurring themes in them, and they're very much a moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess if I have to pick one, I would probably say it's Ministry of Transition. Simply because in the period between Freak Show and Ministry of Transition, we were really, we were pretty much a mainstay in sort of the underground music scene in London. I mean, don't get me wrong, we were like, we're at the bottom of the pile, but like, do you know what I mean? But we were, we were regularly gigging, and in that period we supported Hansel and Gretel, Dope Stars Inc. We supported KMFDM.
Oh wow,
that's
a big one
in London. So, and don't remember, we were always like, first band on or whatever. But there was a lot of growth in those periods of time. So therefore, I have all these really good fun memories of gigging, and I'm still friends with my bandmates still. In the more recent time, I've tried to convince them to like come back and do it, but everyone's lives are different now, and what I'm working on with the music at the moment is kind of a bit of a, as you know, because you've been listening to the tracks and stuff, there are a lot of songs that are personal to me. So in some ways it was always gonna come down to me just carrying it on, probably in some way or another,
Yeah. I mean, that's an awesome answer. I honestly was not expecting Ministry of Transition, man. I really wasn't. You blew me away yet again on that one. What was it like really about that album that like made it more intricate for you?
So in terms of like the kind of writing process and stuff, so the first album, Children of Pandora, I wrote that. It was just me. I wrote all of it, programmed all the. I mean, we not because we didn't want one, but we were so adamant of like, let's just get out there and make music. All our drums were programmed because we were like, we just want to get out there and make music and play music, and eventually, surely a drummer's going to see us and want to join, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it never happened. So, Children of Pandora, I wrote it all, and when members joined, it was like me saying, right, this is what you play. So it was all very much, and of course I was like, you can tell, do your own little flair of how you play it on guitar, for example. But it was very much, I wrote it, this is what you do. And then Freak Show was kind of a 50-50 of like, here's loads of stuff I've already written, but there was room for people to add their own little bits. So by the time Ministry came round, everybody involved was all putting equal kind of stuff in, and by that point as well, we kind of, like I said, by that point we were gigging in London. We were this industrial punk metal band. That's just what we kind of tagged ourselves at.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the main things that we always had as a band, and the thing that I was always adamant about, was we make whatever music we make. So I was completely open to like, let's, if we write something on the acoustic, let's use it. If we write a really heavy death metal track, like, not that would ever be my vocal style, but like musically, let's use it. It was always just, if we like it, if we enjoy it, if it has meaning, we should use it.
Yeah.
But because we ended up kind of being put with industrial punk and metal bands, and also I'll be honest, we played a lot with a lot of bands in the London scene who it was really hard to kind of say what they were because it was so sort of underground in a way. But I tell you what, man, I saw more punk and metal kind of attitude in bands that were not punk and metal, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
They literally just might be a one-person act, and it's just like synths and distorted vocals, but the attitude was so much more punk and metal than where our local scene was, the bands we were seeing at the time in our little kind of local bubble, which equally we didn't want to be a part of, but that's a whole other story. So Ministry Transition, we're all putting in. There was a lot more synths, there was a lot more electronic stuff. We did a lot of collabs on that album with people we'd met through the scene in London. And it was just, it was kind of felt like a culmination of where we wanted to be, what we wanted to try and do after it. It was kind of our like step up to us at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
It was our best selling album in the sense that in the past we'd just gone to make an album, put the money in, it's made, then try and sell it. This one we were like, let's be a bit smarter. And, you know, we had like a whole pre-order thing and bundles and basically anyone that bought, I mean, years later I did do a repressing of it, but the original pressing is was it covered already? How Chris? I will get to that. I will get to how it came. Yeah. So the first press in the Ministry was in a digipack, and the booklet in it was meant to, because there was also a narrative within that album. So the little booklet was meant to look like a passport, kind of like a, what would you like? You know, like during what do you call it, like border force kind of passport things, and you know all this kind of stuff about being a rebellion, like a rebellious group and kind of like terrorist group stuff. It you know, those of you who got the first, those who may have the first pressing, kind of got the full sort of original idea kind of thing. So yeah, like I said, it was a culmination, and it also ended up being a kind of a moment in time where there was life kind of changed as well in not such a great way for me and for other people. But yeah, so there's just a lot of things attached to it.
Yeah. So, I mean, wow, that was a great insight into why the album sounds the way it does, honestly. Like, when everybody sounds that cohesive, there's definitely it takes it to another level as far as, like, you know, connection, in my opinion. I don't want to kill too much time because we have so many topics to go over, which of course I can have you back as many times as you want because we'll go for hours.
Dude, I'm cool. However you want to do it, it's all good. Just keep ever till I pass out, or you pass out. You know, you can do an endurance thing. However you want to do it.
Well, if you want to answer Will's question about how Spawn of Psychosis, the name came about, I was actually going to ask that myself. So good on you, Will.
The name came about because I was sitting there one day going, I need a cool name. But I was like, and at first I was just kind of looking, I think I was looking for a thesaurus of just, you know, random words. Does it make, you know, sense? And weirdly, while I am sitting there thinking, you know, what I should probably also point out, because we haven't said, I actually started this when I was 16, but it wasn't until I would have been in my early 20s that it became a band. But at 16 years old, I was like, originally it was like, I want to join a band. And I'd started playing guitar, and I was like, so I'll just record my ideas to show, hey, you know, this is what I do. Do you want to, you know, can I join your band? And basically no one was interested. So I just thought, well, you know what? I'll just do it myself. I'll do it all myself. And, you know, bought drum machines and all the rest of it. So I'm sitting there thinking, I need a name. But I wanted it to have meaning to me, like a resonance.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm sitting there thinking this, TV's on in the background, and there was some documentary about, you know, drug use and psychotic breakdowns and the rest of it. And they must have just said, like, you know, psychosis in it was like in the TV in the background. And I was like, cool. And I was like, that means more than that. And then I thought about it and had my usual kind of internal process, being creatively minded. And it was like, you know, we're all kind of a product of our environments.
Mm-hmm.
My life background, I was like, it's been pretty fucked up. So it's quite kind of psychotic in a sense, and its own psychosis. Like, so it's like I'm a product of psychosis. Oh, it's a spawn of psychosis, and that's how it started. And then that's why I took the stage name Spawn. My mate Adam was Drag. Because why I can't. I think it was because literally, back in the day, way back in the day. I mean, he still is a Wednesday 13 fan, but he was like really into Wednesday 13 when I first met him. Like, he looked like everything. He was dressed in 13. So somehow we got named Drag, and then everyone, as various people joined, they kind of like chose their own stage names that had some relevance to them and stuff. But yeah, so it was this idea of like being a product of your surroundings So therefore, world's pretty fucked up. So we're all product of madness, basically. So
that's fucking awesome, dude. I didn't actually know that detail. Like I knew we discussed it before, but never in that way. So that's really cool. So what is on the horizon right now for Spawn of Psychosis? I know you came out with Kathy, that single, which is absolutely great. I encourage everybody to check that one out as well. And I'm going to be putting links to everything. I have your Bandcamp scrolling across the ticker right now because it's absolutely worth it. But you also just put out the Proof of Diagnosis second referral mix, which I'm so stoked to be a part of. Thank you again for that.
Well, thank you for wanting to do it, dude.
Dude, I hate that it took so long on my end and then on just everything in general. It was just like we both went through this rough patch of time, and it was chaos, man. It really was.
But equally, that's why I was like, I knew it would not be simple. I just knew it wouldn't be, and either because of my life, the fact that like you're in the States, and then getting Graham to kind of fit it in with what he does as a producer, as well as the other things he does. So I was like, this is gonna. So that's why at the start I was like, there's no deadline, guys. It's just all kind of, you know. But then as it went, I was like, maybe we need a deadline. So I was like, maybe I should have said now a deadline. And then it was like, okay, guys, it's like, you know. But we did it, dude. We did it. We got there in the end. So
I think it turned out great, man. I really do, and I hope to get you on a track soon.
Awesome.
Definitely
down with it.
But what is creatively next for you, man? I know you're dropping teasers to your songs you're working on all the time, man.
So there is I have a song that was going to get released last year with alongside Kathy and Proof of Diagnosis and the second referral remix, and it just because of just time and things that have been going on for me in my life this past year, I was like, I don't want to rush it. Let's just keep it for next year. I've learned it's always good to have something on standby, you know. So there's that. But the main thing I'm working with these new tracks is I guess it's so basically I do want to put out one more album. It might be the last album, just because of life and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I might just carry on with the idea of just singles. But me as a creative person, I like albums. I'm a big believer in as an artist, as a musician, you write your songs for a reason, and then you make choices of why they're in that order and how it all fits together. So I'm a big believer in that, and I'm also a big believer in physical media still. So even though I've still got some stock of Spawn Psychosis CDs floating around, I'm still like, I want to make a CD. So so in a nutshell, the album is, I guess, for want of a better word, the idea is it's a narrative concept album, and it's very much kind of about where I'm at in my life and things that have happened and my mental health at this point in time.
Yeah.
And also some kind of, so songs that are very much about that and songs that are loosely about that. And there's some other kind of like, I call them narrative songs, like, because it ties into this big idea. Because I've always said this idea, this is ambitious, which it really is. And the idea is, in the kind of build up for this grand idea, is I'm probably going to try and, because back in the day when we had our original website, until somebody took the domain name, when I didn't pay it, and now if you go to that website, it takes you to some Chinese. I don't know what it is. It's all in Chinese, but it's trying to say something. And whatever it is has nothing to do with Psychosis. So the fact that they chose that domain name or stole that domain name when it came up, who knows? But back in the day with that, I was doing a comic because the whole like idea of our stage personas
Mm-hmm.
in like the Children Pandora days was we were these escaped lab experiments, and we had like gold, if you've ever watched Stargate, like parasite things in us, and so I had a whole I don't know how many issues I did, but I drew it all, coloured it all, and it was like an online comic thing. So I'm wanting to revisit that media, because then it will kind of explain a bit more of what the hell this album is. And if it all goes to plan, I'd like to make it as a physical album, but a very limited, I mean, like really limited. It might only be like at least 25 copies, but the whole packaging thing's going to be really like, really special.
Yeah.
And outside of that, just, the usual digital uploading and stuff. So, I mean, in terms of songs I've got for it, there's 13 essentially written in terms of, musically, and some have been, polished and that for lyrics and stuff and things. So I've got lots of things going on, and then because of the narrative idea I've got, I'm like, well, I need to write a song about that. So I've also got ideas and stuff, but it's just at the moment, because new day job and stuff, just getting the time to just kind of sit and do it all.
Yeah.
So, but yes, that's the plan. So,
concept albums are interesting. That was what mine was going to be, proprioception, and I ended up putting that thing on the back burner because I feel like I creatively bankrupted myself. I wanted to do something similar to you and actually have a whole comic made up about it to explain the goddamn story. But it just, my mind is so sporadic, it won't stay focused on just like one train of thought for the story. So I end up just kind of diverging and going outwards. But you had talked about mentioning mental health. How has this been a catharsis to you to put out this, to work on this concept album?
It's, oh man, that's a whole thing. I mean, how should I put this? A lot of things have happened to me in the past 7 years. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And during that time, because of just life reasons and other life stuff, having children and stuff, like, kind of took precedent. I kind of like the music thing was kind of put on the back burner, and I for a time it was all about my visual art as opposed to the music.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to do that, the visual art more of a business, because even from day one when we were a live band, we were like, because we once got asked by a promoter, what's your 5-year plan? And we were like, you know what, our 5-year plan is we'd like in 5 years time to be at this level playing these kind of gigs, but monetarily we just want it to tick over. We put money into it, we make merch, we make albums, we sell stuff, money goes back into it. It was just we wanted it to kind of, the ideal is it funds itself basically. So in that time the music came on the back burner, and as other events kind of happened, I realized that I needed to, I'm a creative person in lots of various ways, but the music is very much more the way for me to put out what I need to say in a way that I think I hope people relate to easier than if I did a painting about that subject. If that makes sense. It's just kind of how I kind of feel about it. So in the end, like I said, everyone else had life stuff going on, and so band members quit, I moved. There was lots of stuff going on, and I went through a phase of like, well, I can't. It was that weird thing of, I mean, when you have no expectations of something and you just do it, you don't worry, you just do it.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's that weird thing. If you succeed at something and then it falters or something happens and it stalls, that can sometimes be worse than never doing it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I was kind of in a moment of like, well, we used to be this, but we can't be that. The band isn't that now. So that kind of put me on a downer, and I shouldn't bother doing it, and what's the point, and no one cares, and all this sort of stuff. And then through other things happening in life, I realized like, no, I need to do the music because it's the thing that helps me process stuff.
Yeah.
More so than like I do visual art from time to time about these same sort of stuff, but it just, I don't know, doing it as a music format with music and lyrics and stuff, and then albums and imagery and all the things that you can do with it, and music videos and whatever, just was for me that was an easier or a better way to get those things out there.
Mm-hmm.
So through all those things that happened, as I say, I started doing music again. The first track I put out after all that was what was it? In 2022 would have been Avdi Vide Taste, which was actually the start of the original idea for a narrative thing, which I then completely changed right after the fact, and have now turned it into this new idea, which, you know, I don't want to say too much because it's still a formulated idea, but it's very much, it is going to be quite personal for me on one level, but that's why I'm also trying to expand it out a bit within the narrative. Kind of is sort of allowing me to do these more personal stuff, but in a way that I can cohesively add other songs to this album, which don't have to be all about something very personal, if any of that makes sense.
No, yeah.
So yeah, music's just, it ended up being, doing music became the more cathartic thing in the end.
Yeah, I feel I'm the same way. For me, if I go without a day, not necessarily a day, but if I go days without being able to voice my anger that I'm feeling either toward myself or to the world, it feels like a fire is just like boiling inside me. And I feel like I'm about to erupt. That's also probably majorly due to the bipolar, just to be honest with you. But music serves as like that therapist that you didn't realize you needed until you go without it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you said you'd listened to like recently had listened to like the first 3 albums all the way. That's because you have a wildly creative mind. Milk it for all it's worth.
Absolutely, man.
Never play in the box. Stifles. Very, very true.
Yeah.
And I definitely have a wildly creative mind.
He does. He really does.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and weirdly, I'm also a geek, as we all are.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, I do Warhammer miniature painting and stuff. And but weirdly, what I have learned for myself as well, if I start getting, say, I burn out working on a song or whatever, I need to do something else creative, but not the music, because that's burnt me out. So I'll paint miniatures, and while I'm sitting there painting, you know, 100 lizard men or whatever the hell I'm doing, I start having ideas for the music. Do you know what I mean? And it's the thing of like, I'm doing something creative, painting my little lizard men, but it distracts my mind enough for it to start coming up with new ideas.
See, that I envy that, because sometimes I'll have those random bursts of thoughts where I'm watching something or listening to something or hearing something, and I'll go write, and I can write 5 songs right then and there, and then I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And other times it's like, what the hell do I have to do to get this creative block out of my head?
Justin, do something else creative, but that you don't have, like I said, but it is a hobby thing, or it's a fun thing, and you probably have more inspiration and stuff. But yeah, again, that's what I was originally gonna say. Yeah, you say you listen to all the first 3 albums, like the main albums and stuff, and it's funny because in all of them there are personal songs, and it is a thread, and it's just interesting to hear that, because like I said, there's lots of stuff in there, but it's a funny random things.
Yeah,
and it really does.
It really does.
True.
So you were talking about, like on those first 3 albums, and I know we're all over the place, man, so I apologize. But there's just so much I want to talk to you about.
Dude, talk. Don't worry. I'm going.
I was listening I was listening to, I believe, Freak Show Pandemic, man, and the song that really hit me like a ton of bricks, man, was Who Killed.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds nothing like you at times, man, and it blew me away what you sounded like with it.
So that's one of the personal songs, which I have no trouble talking about.
Are you sure? I didn't.
Yeah, no, it's no secret. Like it's something I've been talked about before. So it is actually about a real event that didn't happen to me, but happened to someone I knew. I mean, I won't dwell on it too much, but basically, when I was in in the States, you don't have primary schools, do you?
Yeah, I know what it is though. Like
not nursery, the one up from nursery.
Like kindergarten, or preschool.
So you're 5 or 6 when you start.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that would technically be like kindergarten.
Over here we have like primary school, secondary school, which is your high school, I believe.
Yeah.
So anyway, when I was at primary school, so I would have been 5 or 6. One of the kids in my class, he died, and his name was Robin, and essentially, he was killed. He and his little sister were killed by their mother, and so. I didn't really know him. I guess like he was a friend, but it's like I was 5, 6. Whatever, do you know what I mean? Like, but it was always something that stuck with me, just as a memory.
Yeah.
And it was always just there, always a thing. And eventually, I had the idea for the song because the poem at the very beginning of the song. I mean that's a Well, I say famous. It's an old poem from. It's one of those things where no one knows who wrote it. I don't think, as far as I remember. And it's meant to be about Robin Hood. That's what it's about basically.
Yeah.
Who killed Robin Hood? But that little nursery, my grandmother used to say to me randomly, and just one day I was like, that poem, what happened? I kind of connected the two, and then the song itself is about at least how I remember the events of what happened to them. So, and we kind of also musically kind of did a bit of experimenting and stuff, like the noises you hear, like the little,
like that.
And like the tapping on the that was literally we went through this kind of, me and Chris, who at that time was the bass player and the synth player. He would then also become the second guitarist when Rob joined as the other bassist. So we went through this, like, we should experiment, man. We should do some crazy stuff, like atmospheric. And we literally we raided my dad's shed and got, I don't know what we pulled out, just like hammers and bits of wood and like just like screwdrivers, because I think, if I remember right, the metallic tapping of the ting 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 ting.
Mm-hmm.
I literally think that was a screwdriver on something else that was metal.
No way.
Yeah, and we literally just rigged up some mics and into the interface, into the map book, and just stood in my parents' living room just because I think they were on holiday or something, and we just raided the house and we're like tapping these things to the the beat that we'd already kind of created and stuff, and all these weird other little things that we put in there that and distorted and stuff. So that was also probably one at the start of us being like, we should experiment with weird things in the backgrounds of the tracks and stuff. So,
it showed.
But yeah, so that was so that's that one.
Well, thank you. Like, I mean, I didn't know the backstory on that, so thank you for the willingness to open up about that. It really was a standout for me. That's one I went back and listened to about 3 or 4 times in a row. It's just not even knowing the backstory, it hits you. It hits you hard like a ton of bricks. Like it really does. And that says something to the story creating that you also gave it. So, I mean, you know, props to you for being willing to take that subject matter and turn it into something.
I mean, I am a believer in the sort of saying that you know, art reflects life and life reflects art.
Mm-hmm.
I know we currently live in a world, not getting into all that, but with a lot of discussion about censorship these at the moment, and what should be seen, what shouldn't be seen.
Yeah.
I am a big believer in you can't have a conversation about topics without the entire topic. And what I mean by that is you can't. There are things in this world we need to talk about, and they can be and they can be difficult topics. But you have to talk about the whole topic, the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
You can't only ever talk about the one side. And I think context is a big thing these days. So I'm a believer in like stuff that happens in life. And I'm also, though, a believer in there is a right way and a wrong way to put across stuff creatively. And I'm not saying that my creative choices to put stuff across has been right or wrong. But I have seen things, be it in music or in film or in just visual art, when I'm like, I get what you're saying, but I think you've gone way too kind of, you know. And is it tasteful? Is it respectful? You know, that when you mentioned the track Kathy, I was very I wanted to tell that story, but I was very careful in how I wrote it and you know the implications of what it was about and stuff, because I wanted to do it in the right way. But I'm a believer in like there's terrible things in the world, but you know we need to talk about them, and art reflects life. So you know.
So now, is Kathy going to be a part of the album, or was it just a single that you really wanted to put out?
It was well, to be honest, all the songs that I've released in the past 2 years, they were originally all meant to be on an album. And as that kind of so they're all kind of being written sort of within the same time frame, you know, in the same year or whatever. But as I was doing it, essentially altogether I think I had like 15 songs, and I was like, I really, really want to do this album. But I'd already had some songs that were kind of narrative, or I thought they'd be good to be this. You know, when I start writing lyrics, I think there's a vibe within the music. I think that, and I was like, well, then how do I make them all link? And then I became aware of this notion of, you know, it has been a good few years since Spawn Psychosis had put anything out, because the last CD was the EP, the Anno Diablo Volume 1, because there was meant to be a Volume 2.
Oh, man.
No, it's pacifist.
You are more than welcome to. Will has just started a new podcast where he is interviewing bands and artists alike, and he's phenomenal. I can't encourage you enough to be on that podcast.
Dude, message me. We'll figure something out.
Will is good. He's a good dude to have, and I think next week we're doing the second part of his. So I'm really excited.
Yes, I did watch. I didn't watch it all yet, but I did. I was watching part one.
It's a good one.
So I've completely forgot what I was saying. Yes. So So they were all going to be an album, and then I was like, it's been ages since we released anything. Which was by that point would have been the Anno Diablo Volume 1 EP. There was meant to be a Volume 2, and because it didn't happen, that just fell to the wayside. And I felt there's no real point picking that up again because too much time has passed on. So I thought, I want to do an album, but I need to put stuff out before that. to be out there again, to just kind of, you know, become relevant again, whatever that means, really. So yeah, then it was just a case of going, right, what do I think is the best out of this whole chunk of songs? Which are the ones I think could be their own thing, and I could put them out individually, but they could also be put together. I mean, with this concept album idea, however grand my idea for like the physical release, I was probably going to put Cafe and Conform or Cancel and all those songs on like a CD as a special thing for that, with that album. Yeah. So yeah, it was just about getting music out again, rather than, you know, throwing all my eggs in one basket and go, here's a 12-track album. You haven't heard of me for about 5 years. Let's see what happens. Like, you know, so. Well, and also getting back into, you know, the things have changed within, like, I was so adamant we would never be on Spotify because we were all about the whole
purist
music, really. And in the end, I've had to concede, as we all have in some way or another. So I was also getting to grips with the way stuff is done now compared to what it would have been done, how we would have done it, you know, in like 2015, 2016. So
there's a learning curve to it too, man. Like there really is. Like it's not just, you know, you upload it and then that's it. You gotta do everything.
Yeah, I mean, well, we always did it. I mean, that's, you know, the reason I have a record label is so that I could put my music out, and if it became successful in the way we all wish it would, you know, as musicians, that I wouldn't be screwed over, or that my band wouldn't be screwed over, because, you know, and when I say I have a record label, I don't mean just like I came up with a name and it's on the back of the CD. Like it is.
No. You legit have one.
Yeah, it's an incorporated UK business and stuff. And a lot of people say to me, like, why do you bother still with it? I'm like, because I have learned both from listening to, you know, anecdotal stories about, say, Motley Crue. You know what I mean? Like, you know, whatever you think of them now as a band, in terms of like as a creative entity, you know, as has happened with lots of bands historically, their label, you know, controlled their masters.
Yeah.
And their label, I think it was in the 90s. If you've ever read the Dirt,
yeah,
it all goes into that in the book. But essentially, the record label didn't care about them anymore because they were done, but would happily make money off of their records. So in the end, the band funded whatever tour they did themselves at that point in time, and just every night, Nikki Sixx phoned the lady who was in charge of that department and just got the crowd to shout abuse to her down the phone until they finally relented. So it was stories like that, anecdotal ones. I was like, nah, we need to. And at the time that I was like, no, I seriously want to do this band thing. When I was like, I said, like, when I was 19, 20, I read up about it and the whole idea of 360 music deals, which now is a dirty word, but at the time that I was reading up on it, it was all about like you as an artist take control of your whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then if a, you know, I don't know, Roadrunner Records, whoever does come knocking, you can say, yeah, I'll sign to you, but actually I'm going to lease you my albums to you rather than I'll sign your deal and you'll be in charge of my stuff. So it's a bargaining chip. And back in the day, I hoped to like help other bands out by putting them on it. And not for like, I want to make money, just like, hey, you know, let's do something with this. And it didn't work. And various reasons. And various things happened, and in the end, I was like, you know what? It's just for us. Or if like Chris, who was in the band, he'd had his own little side thing, his own like solo project. So I was like, oh, we'll put your stuff out on the label as well, man. And you know, and you know, there were periods where we all as band members were on, you know, we're all directors of the label and stuff, and so it was all trying to be like a fair thing, like what happened when we did our collab. I made sure that it was a fair thing between us, you know. So, because I'm all about, you know, I do believe in there, you know, creative people should be allowed to make some form of income, even if it's just to fund it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and yeah, I mean, we won't get into the whole like, you know, Spotify, blah blah blah, but like, yeah, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong in in doing that. And, you know, like at the time as well, I didn't want to be just another guy in his bedroom making music. Do you know what I mean? There's a bit of validation when you go those extra things to prove to the naysayers, well, you know what, I really, and actually it was Graham many years ago, our mutual buddy Graham said to me and the guys once, he was like, because we were talking about all this, and because we got a lot of hate from the local scene and stuff back in the day. We were the most hated band in Kent, apparently. Right. But that's a whole story I won't even bother going into. But he once said to me, if you don't put value in what you do, nobody's going to put value in it. You know, you can't expect people to value what you do if you don't value it. So,
I agree. I mean, it you have to walk a fine line with me saying this, because it's like, I don't want to sound elitist, because I am technically a kid that's, you know, recording in his bedroom and making the songs, but you can tell when people put the effort into it. You can tell when their words are heartfelt and meaningful versus just wanting to be part of the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with recording in your bedroom.
No.
It's that because we all have to start somewhere. But it was just that for me at that time in my life, I was like, but I know if I really want to do this, because again, in this one, it was just me, you know, that there wasn't a live band yet or anything. So I was like, if I really want to do this, let's do it right, you know, kind of thing. So, and then to prove like, no, I really want to do this and I'm going to, you know, do it.
And I mean, that, you know, that takes us almost full circle back to the beginning where I was telling you about the quality of the albums, man. And it really does show, like, you put your heart and your effort into it. And it really does, when you listen to it, you get that sense of urgency almost. Like the first two albums are just in your face.
They're, I mean, the first one we recorded in a week. Like, and that was, you know, that we just I have so many stories about this recording out those first two albums. So like, how can I it's all like comedy gold, if I'm perfectly honest. You don't feel know when something's not genuine. Yeah,
I completely agree, Will.
I mean, I won't get into it, but some of some of the negativity we got as a band was because I was very outspoken with that within our little scene of very much saying, you know, you guys in that band, like, your music isn't for me, but by all means do it. Go out there and do it. But here's my critique based on like how I'm viewing this idea of honesty, and that didn't go well, but we won't get into it. But so the first album, Children of Pandora, was recorded in, I believe it was a week. Obviously we'd written everything and we were prepped. Well, we thought we were prepped. And it was in this little studio, I said local to kind of where I am at. And there's like one little control booth. And then obviously a room, which was, you know, your live room. And a lot of bodies in a little room, right? You know, and I think we were literally just so we would get down there for, I don't know, 8 o'clock in the morning every day, and we were there till 6 in the evening or 7, living off of Pringles, donuts, lots of basically sugar, just sugar. Mm-hmm. Just living off sugar. And you said earlier, like my voice and stuff. Like now, you know, over the years, I still can't sing as far as I'm concerned, but I just do me. But I've also learned the hard way that I wasn't, like, regardless of how you sing, regardless of what you do, you got to do it right, because you will hurt yourself. And I hurt myself. I ended up with laryngitis for like a month or so. So back then, when we were doing Children of Pandora, I'm just all about attitude. So I was just doing, it's all. People used to. There was someone very close to me who once said that if the Sex Pistols hadn't happened when they happened, and they happened now, that was what we were like.
Oh man,
because of like,
yeah, I
mean, visceral kind of just like, I didn't care, I'm shouting the thing. So we did that. So yeah, so Children of Pandora is very much lots of bodies in a tiny room, living off sugar, and using a cracked copy, I believe, at the time of Tomb Tracks.
Oh man.
Oh Jesus, I still use it now. Well, not that version. I have the second one.
I was gonna say, like, man,
my brain's just gone completely blank. Not Superior Drummer.
Easy Drummer.
Easy Drummer. That's it. Yeah. So now I use an official Easy Drummer. Too. Back in the day, it was I had first of all I had a little Zoom drum machine.
Oh man.
Right. And I think it was like called Dr. Drum or Robo Drum or something. I can't remember. and I was like, yeah. And then we upgraded to the drum machine I still have now. And we had two of them. We had a backup one. So we've done all that to make the MIDI drums and send it to this cracked copy in the studio of Easy Drummer 1 to make it sound a bit more. And it was just just living off of sugar. Did I no, because annoyingly a lot of the physical copies of Children of Pandora, don't know what happened, but over time they've actually like corroded and don't play anymore.
Oh man, really?
Yeah, and I don't know if on the digital version actually, because I don't know. Have you? I'm assuming if you've listened to the whole way through, you've got to the end, haven't you? So you've heard Angel Wins. I'm assuming.
Yes.
Right? Have you stayed listening after that song ends, or does it just stop at the end?
I think it might still have like a little bit left to it. So right. Are you telling me there's something I need to listen to?
Because I don't know if it will be on the digital. I can't remember. But if it is, wait a while after that song ends, and there is a stupid comedy bit of an outtake that we were like, we have to put that somewhere on the album.
Okay.
Where because at that time we had we had our mate Martin join, and he was his character name was Weevil, and he was like meant to do like the aggressive kind of vocal background bits, right? So have a listen, it's comedy gold. So what you find at the end of that, and then Freak Show Pandemic was funny because we decided that we're gonna put some real money into recording that one, right? We're gonna like really save. And we ended up with Graham again going to Parlour Studios in Kettering in the UK, which is quite a famous studio. Dimmu Borgir have recorded there.
Yeah.
Evil recorded there. I believe on one of the tracks, I don't know one, I can't remember, but I believe like there was still a setting on one of the effects racks, which obviously Dimmu Borgir had used because there was a preset named Dimmu Borgir.
Oh man!
Chorus, so we were like, we're having that. We'll use that. I don't know what. I can't tell you what it did for the track or what track. And that was again another. We're going to do this in a week because we're prepped. And this is why I find it funny you say about the quality of the production, because I've always felt that afterwards, after kind of the glitz and glamour of we did it, we made this album. Everything we've ever, if I'm honest, other than Ministry. Every album we've released has had a bit of a quality curse to it. So, like, Pandora's not too bad because it was our first, and we did it with Freak Show Pandemic. We did it in Parlour Studio, all this top quality gear, and we actually mixed. So we mixed and mastered it there as well. But we get in first day, we discovered that all our stuff we've prepped, so like the drum tracks and all that, on our end before we get there. Something's gone wrong. So Chris and Graham, so we'd record guitars, bass, vocals during the day with like a scratch kind of rough thing. And then throughout the night, Chris and Graham would sit there and put all the MIDI drums through a thing and find all these effects. Chris had to re-record / rewrite synth parts, I think, because it just wasn't there for some reason on the hard drive. So they lived off of coffee, and when I say they lived off coffee, they were drinking, I think it was called Lava Java or Java Lava. It was some like ground coffee.
Oh yeah. The Lavazza or whatever.
Yeah, they were seeing sounds. They were that wired, right? So we had that, and and that, I know we've already, Graham and I told you the story. This was the time we found, because we stayed at the studio. They had like living quarters there at part of the studio, and they had some DVDs there to just like, and that's where we found Pope Town. You remember we showed you Pope Town?
Jesus, yes.
That's where we found Pope Town. Anyone listening, go on YouTube, Google Pope Town. I warn you, it will test your sanity.
It will.
But we found the DVD of that. We watched every single episode,
right?
And it was bizarre. I ended up one day while we were recording, I had a migraine, so that put me out. And I was on my crazy pills, so I'm just babbling nonsense and hallucinating on the painkillers. I won't say what I said because it might get you but I saw things on the ceiling.
Yeah.
Well, what it actually was the light fitting, but my painkillered up brain
saw something else.
And I said to Adam, who was sitting across on the sofa, I said, "Why is there these things on the ceilings?" And I'll never forget, he just looked up from the laptop and went, "You what now?" And it was like, and we definitely lost our sanity while we were there, because we first day we were there, so we get to the studio, and we're like, right, so we live in there for a week or a week and a half, whatever it was, and I'm like, oh, we need to go get food shopping in. Yeah, let's go. So we go to a supermarket, and for some reason that I don't know why, we suddenly thought we should be sophisticated when we're doing. We shouldn't. We're not going to just live off shit again like last time. We're sophisticated about this.
So ramen noodles.
For some reason, we bought pears. I don't know why.
Pears?
And we were like, we need pears. We should have fruit. We should be healthy while we're here for this like week and a half. And we should buy meat. We should buy steak or burgers, or what the fuck we bought. Which then, and we still bought like loads of shit, loads of Haribo. We lived off Haribo as well. But in the end, the cabin fever set in at, I don't know, day 2. And Adam and I were really wanting to eat these pears. And pears are, they're either not ripe or they're too ripe. So we ended up doing pear watch and just being like, are they ripe yet? God damn it. And every day, just like looking at these pears, being like, they're ripe yet? No, they're not ripe yet. And then they were too ripe. And we're like, God damn it, we missed our chance. And I vaguely remember arguing with Adam that I asked for chicken. Again, I think I was on the painkillers for the moment, but that I asked for a chicken sandwich, but he says I didn't. And I was like, where's my chicken sandwich? And that was the whole thing. And it was just nuts. And we obviously you run your masking tape along your board, your soundboard in the studio, and so you can write kick, guitar 1, 2, vocal, We had one called Megatron, because that was the weird dubstep effect that we decided we needed on these tracks. So it was just going.
Okay, yeah.
We said was how can I say this in the nicer way? Was the sound of Megatron having relationships with a bin? That was basically what we called it. Just utter madness, which was just us comedy gold madness. And it was just so many things happened there. On the way to the place, and it's a good few hours drive from where we were at to Kettering. We're on the motorway, and I think it was on a roundabout. I was like, I can't remember if I thought, and we hired like a people carrier to get us and all the gear up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, Graham drove us up there, and I can't remember if I thought the door wasn't shut or it wasn't shut properly. But I decide the best time to check this is when we're going around a roundabout on a motorway. Do you have? I don't know. You guys don't really have roundabouts, do you, in America? Because you're all about the freeway and the.
I know what you're talking about, though. Yeah.
A big round thing that you go around. Yeah, and that's the time I decide I should probably check if this door's open or not, and decide that I'll open the door as we're going around the roundabout. And or at least I didn't decide to. I went to check it, and it would transpire that therefore my check-in opened said door. So they're like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh my god!" It was just madness, just utter. So then when we got to doing Ministry Transition, we decided we're not going to hire a studio. We're gonna put the money into production and stuff, but we're gonna do it ourselves and go to Graham's home studio to do bits. And there was a lot of, which adds to that level of there's more layers because there was lots of more moving parts. But yeah, it was never. Oh, and that again with that album, like so many funny stories about us doing gigs and just random stuff, utter random, just ridiculous stuff. Yeah. There are so many stories.
I mean, clearly, like that whole thing sounds like a trip in itself. Just listening.
It was. Well, you mentioned you really liked Club Antichrist.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you got it from the lyrics, but that's an actual place.
I figured as much.
And we played there, and it was amazing. And it's not at that venue anymore, unfortunately. The venue it was at when we would go was in London, in Vauxhall in London. It was an awesome place. It was called the Colosseum, and that was awesome because it's a rock, metal, alternative fetish club, and it was awesome, just awesome. And again, funny stories with that because again we played the show there. It was loads of fun. It was great. Awesome. I then had a migraine at the gig. So we did our set and then I had a migraine. So I'm back on the heavy duty painkiller pills and seeing stuff. The only thing about Club Antichrist was so as a club, it starts, well, it did at least back then, it's 8 o'clock at night is doors open. Doesn't finish till 6 o'clock the following morning.
Ooh.
Which is fine, but if you are performing there, be you a dancer or a band or whatever, because of the whole loading gear in and out and all that stuff, you can't actually leave till it's done.
Oh, wow.
Then you wheel your gear out. And we didn't know that. We were like, we'll do a set, we'll chill out for a few hours, have a laugh, it'll be great, and then we'll just, we'll politely take our stuff and get in the car. And they're like, oh no, you have to stay here till we shut. So, and we're like, okay, that'll be interesting. And then, so let's do our set. It's all good. It's fun. I'm then tripping balls on the painkillers. Tripping balls in a venue like that is interesting.
I could imagine, dude. And
I was just at one point trying to find the rest of the guys, and I'm just wandering around, just tripping. Absolutely. And I remember someone, and when I have migraines, I get paralysis. So I can't see. It's real bad. So I'm sitting there, and there's some guy basically talking to me. He's like, "I really enjoyed your set. You guys are really cool. Where are you from? Where can I find you?" All that really cool stuff. And I'm hearing what he's saying, and I believe I'm responding and saying, "Well, thank you very much. That's really cool. Thank you. You can find." But it would transpire because of my painkillers. I was actually, as I was later told, sitting there going to him. And I'm thinking, why is this guy looking really weird at me? In my head, I'm saying to him, "Thank you very much. Well, you can find us here," and and blah blah blah, yada yada yada. And just madness. Just utter madness. Yeah, and we were there till they shut at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Damn, dude, that's a long night.
We got there at lunchtime.
Oh my god!
In the afternoon to be there for loading. And then go to our hotel and get sorted and come back. And And yeah, I just remember when it was all, and then so that it finishes at 6 in the morning, but then realistically we're not really getting out till 6:30 in the morning, 6:45. And I do remember just sitting there being like, I just don't know what day it is or anything, like any sense of
man.
and where am I, what's going on? And it was just but I would not trade it for the world. It was just the best time, and so many fun memories and just random stuff, and
so with all that being said, and I have a feeling
I've waffled on about random stuff.
No, not at all, man. I've enjoyed this immensely, and I kind of have to reel myself back in because I'm like, I'll go on a tangent just talking to you because we get along like that. But I definitely want to have you back on. Definitely, dude. I think that this is really just touching the iceberg of what we could actually talk about, man. But you said this might be your last album. With that being said, man, and kind of to take it to a little bit more of a serious tone, how do you feel overall about what you've accomplished as Spawn of Psychosis?
I mean, I can't knock it, man. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. It's not, of course, it's not been that, super positive all the time. Like I said, I'm not gonna really go into it, but I personally, in the early days when we were, we're a band and we're gigging, and and we always wanted to not be just another local band doing the same local bits. We wanted to do more, and we were very lucky in that we managed to do that, and we managed to make contacts in London, and we managed to do what we did. But there was a time when a lot of the hate for me, I was like, I don't know if I could, I still was willing to do it, but I was like, I have to take a step back from the presence bit. Do you know what I mean? Like the social media bit back in the day and stuff. Yeah. So there have been some definite lows. It's unfortunate that someone that was very close to me through those years passed away during that time as well. So that there's a lot of which was another reason I think why I kind of took a step back from music and stuff, because it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. But it's been great. I mean, yes, it's it's sad that we're not all doing it together still, and all that, and it kind of got cut short for various reasons. And in some ways, we never had our last hurrah. Like when people started leaving, and for their reasons and life and stuff and all that, we had an opportunity to play a festival that I'd always wanted us to play on, and we were finally booked to do it. And then stuff happened, everyone's lives, for all of us, and we couldn't do it because no one was in. It was just like me and one other person at that point. So we never had a last hurrah. And I would really love to get everyone back together just to do one gig. Yeah. One last hurrah as that version of the band. Yeah. Because me, Adam, Chris, Rob, that would always be the version of the band that, and don't get me wrong, I mean, yeah, if I was able to, because I always was hopefully I might get into a position of meeting other musicians and stuff and all that, but it's hard because life has I'm living a different life as I was back then, but no, it was the greatest of times. I wouldn't change any of it, even the things that in hindsight I was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have hit that hornet's nest with that stick but it was all part of it, and it's just so many good memories, interesting memories, just comedy moments, meeting some of the best people I still talk to now, that would watched us and became friends and stuff, and so no, I wouldn't change it for the world. In fact, the only thing I need to do for that is I need to pay the the legacy thing with DistroKid, so that
so it will stay up.
It stays up forever, because I am that's my that's my thing, and to tell my son you know, do your thing.
Absolutely.
Like. But yeah, no, I wouldn't change it for the world. It was and also, you know, because there are personal songs that I've released and stuff. You know, that I wouldn't not ever. I've never gone. Should I ever release that?
Yeah.
You know, because I'm like, got to do it. You know,
it's all you.
Yeah, you know, got to get it out and stuff. So, yeah, no regrets in doing it. It's yeah, it was some of the best moments of like I said, so many stories, dude. Just so many stupid things of being in this band and just the random stuff that seemed to happen to us. I mean, I'll never forget because we used to play a lot at a club, a venue called Electroworks in London. Quite a famous venue. It's the longest running alt/goth /dark wave /punk you know, all these niche alternative in London.
Oh wow!
Longest running. It's like world famous for it. And we did our usual played whichever gig it was, and you know, and we're all painted up and all the rest of it. And we like, yeah, you know, we take what bits we can take off the stage and put away, and Oh, let's go to McDonald's and get some food. And we walked down to whatever, McDonald's or Burger King or whatever, and we're still all in. I mean, I'm still in full. And back then it was, you know, corpse paint, black veins drawn, the full thing. And I'll never forget, we walk into this really busy McDonald's in London, and it's like frantic in there. And I get out to the counter, and the girl at the counter's busy finishing off the thing before, and she looks up to go, "Can I help?" And there's me, just my big punk rock, spiky hair and the corpse paint, black nails, the full gear. And she just goes, "Ugh!" like that, and I'm like, "All right, can I have this?" And she's just like, "What?" And then like Adam's behind me, he's still all made up. And he's like, "Yeah, can I have? I'll have the like double cheeseburger, wherever it was." And then the next guy, and you know, all of us there, and it was just the look on their faces of just like, what's going on here, you know?
That's amazing. It really is, and
it's funny random stuff.
Well, it shows that you light up when you talk about it, man. Like it shows the passion that you also have for it. And that's something that I think sometimes is sorely missing in the world of music today, man, is the passion and the love for it versus just a business venture. And so, I mean, the first thing I ever thought when I listened to your music, man, and I'm just going to sit here and kind of pump you up for a minute, because I mean, there's so many, well, no, like, I mean, you'll sit there and laugh about it, but there's so many people that can dub their style as, you know, industrial metal and punk, but you have such a unique sound. And I don't say unique as in because you're a bad vocalist either, so don't even. But I listen to it and I'm like, that sounds like Chris. That doesn't sound like anybody else I'm listening to. You can hear the inspirations, especially like Metallica, like on Body Bags.
Yeah, basically, but yeah, very much so in the early days. Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude, and I loved it though. Like I really did. I was like, oh, he's incorporating that style in with his own, and I wanted to give you credit for it, man, because in a lot of today's music, there's not a whole lot of originality. And granted, I know those are older albums, but you still maintain that to this day. And like, dude, major props to that, because
thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like, you know, in a world where so many people conform to what the most popular thing is, dude, you're still out here just waving the middle finger saying fuck you to everybody.
I mean, it's the funny thing is, like, I don't get me wrong, I listen to bands that are, you know, really heavy and, you know, have what, you know, you'd call like extreme vocals or whatever, and all the rest of it. But for me, within that style, there's either I can hear some of what they're saying, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or musically, there's stuff going on that, like, there's a hook, and it all sort of just you know, it all works together. So in terms of kind of like the modern, whatever modern metal is now, and whatever that is, yeah, I don't really relate to it so much. I don't really relate to like constant you know, like Lorna Shore and stuff like that. That's just not my. I mean, fair play, they're doing the thing, and it's all good and all the rest of it. You know, it's not throwing hate, but it's just like, this is just not my thing. And the weird thing in terms of like me with Spawn and Psychosis was like, I'm a big believer in you play what you play. Do you know what I mean? Like you do what you do, right? And I was very much. I think it stems from when I was like I said, when I was like 15, 16, and I was like, for myself, discovering the music that I would really get behind. I was, you know, like we all do, we get into the thing of, you know, you dress a certain way and all the rest of it. And you know, and there's like certain conventions, you know, within it and all the rest of it. I'll never forget, at that age, I was like, so I need to like get a bag. I need to get a rucksack, and I need to, the Hessian bag, and, you know, rucksack thing, and I need to get my Sharpie. I need to draw all my favourite bands' names, and you know, because that's what I'm seeing around me.
Yeah.
You know? But then I stopped and was like, but that would just be me following the thing, and the whole point of this is not to follow necessarily the thing. And then when it came to me doing music, like I said, it wasn't meant to be I was going to make my own band. It was like demo taping me playing guitar, basically. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not a great guitarist. I have no music theory. I don't know music theory. I'm trying to learn some now. But it was always that kind of grunge / punk thing of like, just pick it up and play, and you'll learn stuff, and if it sounds good to you, do it. And it kind of became a thing of like, oh, okay, so all the local bands are like hardcore bands, so I'm not going to do that. And like, yeah, cool, I listen to bands a lot, you know, have lots of crazy guitar tunings, but I'll just stay in E standard, thanks. Like, that was the whole first 2 albums is E standard or drop D. It's not till Ministry of Transition that we start doing different tunings, which was great for songs, but was an utter ball ache for live.
Oh, I could imagine, dude. The constant switching.
And now I know that there's a thing called a digi-drop pedal, because I got one. If only I knew that then, our life would, because we'd be like, we want to play that song and that song. And oh, but wait, Patricide's in drop D. You've got to play that all the time. That's like big, you know, everyone loves that. Oh, but Martyr's in drop C sharp or drop C standard. And we're like, how do we play those two things together? So it became this whole thing. But just that notion of not like an intentional, well, that's what's the thing, I will not do the thing. But it was more like, I don't feel the need to, I must have this amp, this certain guitar brand, these tunings to validate that I am metal or punk, because that's the thing. Like I just with anything, I'm a big thing of like, you get what you can afford, and you just do what you can with what you got, you know.
Absolutely.
And I mean, these days in the world of digital amp modeling and stuff, it probably doesn't matter what guitar you got, because you're going to press that button and you will sound like you've got a, you know, an ESP with EMGs in, and you're running through an EVH 5150 or whatever because you press the button. So I don't think it matters as much as it would have, you know, done in the past. But yeah, so it's always just that's doing what we, you know, what we can. You know, I mean, like, when I talk about these, I mean, even when I was doing these little demo tapes, right? And then I decided, no, it's called Spawn and Psychosis, and I'm just doing it for me, right? Kid you not, dude. I had a little Tascam 4-track to tape.
Oh, no.
And it's still like the early 2000s, so it's not like, you know, I couldn't burn CDs, but I'm literally making tapes. And then I borrowed like another tape deck thing so I could have like a master leveler, right? And then I'm taking the you know, the insert out of the blank cassette case, and I'm drawing around it to make a template, and I'm drawing all the artwork on it, and then I'm photocopying it all, and I'm cutting it out, and I'm put, you know, proper DIY as if it was like the 1970s, but it was literally 2006 or 7 or whatever it was, because I was just like, I've got these skills, I'll do it. And back then as well, it was like, because I went to art school and stuff, and I was, you know, did a degree in film and that, and like I was like, oh well, you know, while I'm waiting for that amazing ideal job in the film industry, I'll I will make my own music so I can make a music video for it, so I can kind of practice and hone a craft and, you know, make a portfolio and all that sort of stuff. So it was always, yeah, I was just like, just do my own thing and not feel like, I had many moons ago, I had one guy say to me, "You're a big Metallica fan?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm a massive Metallica fan." Yeah. And he was this guitarist in some other band, and he was like, "Oh, well, you better put your guitar in C." And I'm like,
Oh.
and he's like, "That's if you really want to." And I was like, "Well, I have some of the tab books, and yeah, Sad But True's in C, I believe. Most of it's in standard though, or like down a half step back then anyway." But again, it was this notion of like, you're not really this if you aren't now playing, you know, like you haven't got a valve amp. No, because I don't have loads of money.
Yeah.
I've got this amp though, and it does the job. Like, so, you know, so it was very much that thing of, yeah, using what you got, making the most out of what you got, and just doing it, and not being too fussed about stuff like that, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's a good way to be too, because like DIY, I think is finally making its comeback in the music world, and I think it's for the best. I really do, because you're having to rely less on people that can steal profits.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the modern, I totally agree. Like, and there's a lot more. You have a lot more tools now, more accessibility. Yeah. But I do also think it comes with a double-edged sword. You know, like with AI now, like as a creative visual artist as well as a musician, like I get AI is a thing, it's here, and I get it's a tool, like to plan out an idea. But I'm all for like, no, if you're using AI art, like, you know, whoever you've taught that AI, whoever's artwork you've used to teach that AI, those artists needs to have financial kind of, you know, kick from that, because otherwise, you know, you've killed their work, because then someone just goes, AI, I want you to make this thing that looks like this artist. You know?
Yeah, and then it's being copied from it, and like you said, they're not getting the royalties that they're due for the stylistic approach.
And I mean, I actually recently, because for one of these narrative songs I've got, I there's a dialogue in it, but I like in the demo I've done the dialogue, but it's not going to be me doing this dialogue in the finished thing. And I thought, well, maybe I could use like just for the demo again, like I'll use one of these AI things to, like, you know, I'll type it out and the kind of voice and stuff I would want from a voice actor, just to kind of see how it sounded in the demo. And to be honest, I got so annoyed with just faffing around with that. I was like, you know what, just leave me on the demo and I'll just pay, you know, I'll get an actual voice actor to do this thing, or, you know, find someone, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that to me is still easier than faffing around with AI. And you know, it's so, but it's there, it's part of it. So it's a double-edged sword. It's good to have the tools and for people to do more themselves. But I still think there's a place to, by all means, you know, commission people to do your whatever for you. It's a thin line. It's a double-edged sword. It's good that there are the tools, but at the same time, I mean, I use Canva for so much stuff now.
Yep.
Like, and don't get me wrong, back in the day, I wish we had Canva, because the amount of times we've like filmed a live set, or we've done some video-y thing and putting it together in iMovie. I upload it to, you know, and everyone else has got all these like homemade things on YouTube that look really cool, and I'm uploading it, because of the screen resolution isn't the right. I'll be like, it doesn't work, what the hell? And it was always like, oh, you know. But now I can just be like, yeah, Canva, make it for that thing, make this thing for that. Can't knock it, you know. Like, you have to use the tools you've got. So yeah, but yeah, DIY I think is making a comeback, but it's also one of those things where it's a double-edged thing now. So,
well, as we're getting ready to wrap up here, man, tell the listeners where they can find you. I know you got Spawn of Psychosis, but you also still have Ashes to Embers Studio.
Yeah, so my visual art stuff is Ashes to Embers Studio. You can find that on Facebook. If I can find me on Facebook, and then you will find all these things. to kill two birds with one stone, I got a website, which is called Ashes and Psychosis. .com, I think. I can't remember now because it's really late here and my brain is fried.
I understand.
I believe it's .com, but basically that's a website where you can see both sides of it, and then with various links to all the stuff. Obviously, you got the Bandcamp right across the screen. So
yes.
Place if you want to buy some merch, buy some music, and then Spawn Psychosis is on Spotify and all the other places you could possibly find.
Right.
Easily.
Some not
so legally. Say right now it's just me. It's back to being a one-man band kind of thing, but I've got plans. Enjoy doing it. So by all means, come on down, say hello. We're on TikTok, Instagram. Where else?
There's too many now. There's just too many.
We may even there's probably a very old profile on TikTok that never gets used. It's Reverb Nation that I try and update every now and again. Thanks for having me on, dude. It's been so
I definitely want to have you back on, dude.
Stuff. I don't know if you have any other burning questions you want to ask.
Well, I mean, I have some, but I don't want to, I don't want to broach them as just like a throwaway thing. So I definitely would like to get you back for, if you're up to it, a little bit more of a serious toned one as well. Because you and me, we're jokesters, man. It shows. Like you and me, we can sit here and tell stories and joke just for hours on end. That's just how we are. But I also know a little bit of a different side, and that side really, really hit a spot for me about a year ago. Without divulging too much, man, you were one of very few people who checked in on me at a very, very low point about a year or so ago. And that truly meant the world to me, man. It truly did. I'm bad about falling off with people for a while, and you and me picked up just like nothing ever happened, dude. And that meant the world to me that you didn't cast judgment on it. So thank you.
Man, you and I. Turns out you and I have had some very similar medical stuff as well, which was like, another thing that you and I have connected on and stuff. But it's like I just said to Ames, I noticed when Ames kind of went off the radar for a bit, and I checked in on her, and because I just thought I'll check in, and man. I mean, I'm great. It's been great doing this. Glad to be back. You can ask more questions. I don't care. It's whatever you want to do, dude. Thanks for having me on. And it was Will. Was it Will?
Will Brawley.
Message me, man, if you haven't already. I don't know. We'll sort something out with that.
Yeah, man. Time willing, dude. Like I said, I'd love to have you back for a second one, and we could dive into some of the stuff that we just talked about, man. I'm an open book, as you know, when it comes to the things I have, but I haven't openly discussed them too much on here yet. I wanted to give them the proper insight, not just something that, because to me, even though I have these diagnoses, I can throw them away. They're just throwaway lines at this point. To some people who might be struggling with it, though, I don't want them to think that I'm thinking lightly of it. So that's kind of how I'm approaching it. Maybe right, maybe wrong, I don't know, but it's all I'm learning as I go,
Well, I guess I'd say, you've listened to, you've been listening to the whole back catalogue by the sound of it recently.
Yeah, but, today.
To anyone that might be watching this now or later or whatever, if you need, there are songs. I suffer from mental health. Had a lot of things happen to me. Fuel for the Fire, that's one. If you want to, take on about depression. Proof of Diagnosis for anyone who's has medical stuff and has had to deal with people giving them shit for it. God, there's so many. Mother, if you've lost a parent. There's there's lots of things in there that you might find, help with your catharsis. And in fact, I'm just, that was always something that was important to me as well. And you said earlier, like, is there anything that I kind of regret about the band or anything? And then, it's probably not a regret, but a missed opportunity. I think we played one of the many times we played Electroworks, and we played Fuel for the Fire. Might have been for the first or second time live, can't quite remember. And I did this a lot. When we did live, I would always interact with the crowd and joke around with people and stuff. And we made mistakes on stage or miss lyrics or whatever. And we were always like, oh, well, and just joke with it. Don't get all freaked out by it. But anyway, so we played Fuel for the Fire. I've said what the song was about. And lots of people kind of like, yeah, when I said what it was about, played the song, everyone got into it. And I noticed there was a woman in the crowd, and I think I only noticed her because I know she was very kind of like up against the wall and she was nodding along. We played a song, we'll finish the set, and we're like, thanks, good night, give it up for the next band, which is whoever it was next on, and we're packing our stuff up. And she came up to me and she just goes, thank you for that song. And I was like, she goes, that song you did, that the one, but I want few things. She said, no, thank you for that. Like, I was like, no, cool. And I was like, yeah, sure, no, I'll come by the merchant, we'll chat or whatever. And I never saw her again though. I don't know. She probably filtered out into the crowd, and there was a club, because Electroworks would have gig, and then there's like a club night afterwards. So she probably just filtered off into the rest of her night. But I've always been like, man, because that's the thing. I don't write things. I guess I do write things to be relatable, but I'm not like they must be relatable. Yeah. But it's just like, I know there will be people that relate, and I'm very open about how I find it interesting hearing how people relate, how they interpret songs and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, so I was always very open with that, and yeah, I've had people kind of be like, so for someone to come up to me and be like, thank you for that song, like I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
What they're going through, So yeah, man, it's all there. It's all there.
Well, I mean, I feel bad keeping you so long because it's after 12 already for you. I know.
Yep, it's all right.
It's been a long day, I'm sure, and you're probably just thinking like, my God, I didn't expect this to go this long.
It's my own fault for babbling on about hallucinating and pairs. So like.
But I say that if you're game for it, man, the next episode will kind of head into the stuff,
I just have to organize it, time and stuff, but we'll figure it out.
And if need be, man, I will accommodate you more than you've accommodated me, man, because you've been beyond gracious by doing this at that different time schedule. Because you Brits have a weird time over there, so.
No, you have the weird time.
No, don't even start with me, man. We have normal time.
Yeah, that's how it's meant. The day, the month, the year, not your crazy. You guys do.
We do month, day, and then year.
Because who came up with that? What was that about? Right?
Who the hell came up with daylight savings time, man? Like, it's all worthless.
It's just that whole American rebellion thing you got going on, isn't it? Like,
listen, I'm not going to sit here and take it from somebody that doesn't celebrate Thanksgiving. All right, just
because we don't need to.
I don't care.
You have, we've adopted your Halloween into this thing that it never was, but that, like, when I was a kid, now it's this big thing. So
okay, yeah.
Proms, that's another thing you've infected us with. Like, we didn't have proms when I was at school. We had school discos. That was it. No proms. Thanks to MTV and what was it? What was that show they had? Was it like Sweet 16 or something?
Yeah.
And all these like ridiculously spoilt rich kids being like, oh my God, like I have to go to the prom. Now we have proms. That's all you.
I mean, if we have to take credit for something, it might as well be that, right? Like just ruining your country.
Well, we're kind of ruining it ourselves, to be fair.
I mean, same, dude.
Yeah, we also had that whole empire thing. That didn't exactly wasn't probably the best idea historically speaking.
I don't really have words for that one, man. That's. But Chris,
you had your resolution, you got out. It's fine. Like, you know.
Right. My brother, man, I thank you, dude. Like, this has been an absolute blast. I honestly didn't know what to expect, but it came out better than I could have anticipated, dude.
No worries, dude. Well, again, in all seriousness, thanks for having me. Thanks for taking the time to chat to my dumb ass. You know, and it's been fun, dude. Yeah, but no, we'll do another one. We'll sort something out. No worries.
Absolutely, man. And then anything you need from me for help, you know, promoting anything, dude, let me know. I'll do it on here. I'll do it on Six Scars. You know, I got you back, man.
No, it's the same, dude.
Thank you, dude. And man, with that, thank you for going beyond the breakdown with me, man. This has been something really epic. So I will catch you on the next one.
See you later, dude. See you later,
brother.
Stay safe out there.
See you. Stay safe. All right, so everyone, that was Chris Dredge from Spawn of Psychosis, man. There's not enough that I can say about him, truly. He's one of a kind. I knew getting into this, we were gonna go long, and I absolutely had that feeling, and I don't regret any of it whatsoever. I just want to tell him thank you, and I can't wait for the second part of this. Yeah. So, guys, that was the third episode of Beyond the Breakdown. Next week, we got Will Brawley, a.k.a. the Liars Pacifist channel from YouTube. It will be the part 2 of that one. So be sure to tune into that and stay safe. Good night.